happy Memorial Day weekend. Today I have a beauty tutorial for you. This is the first one that I've done, and I wasn't really going to kind of jump into the whole realm of beauty tutorials, but I had some people ask me how I do my makeup when I'm on camera, and to be completely honest, it's all been trial and error. This is kind of a little over 4 years that I've been kind of working as a TV reporter and now an anchor, so I've really just kind of messed around with what I have, but I've had some people tell me, well, why don't you do a video on that, or why don't you do a blog post on how you contour, how you do your studio makeup, blah blah. So I decided, okay, I've got a day off on Memorial Day, I will do it. So this is what it looks like finished, but I will make sure that I have a link to all the products that I use below. And also, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So here we go, my first beauty tutorial, how I get camera ready. Okay, so right now I have nothing on my face, it's just cleanly washed, and this is the part of my routine that I do before I go to work for that day. So the first thing I use is Mary Kay Timewise Moisturizer. And this stuff I use combination to oily, but there's also a one for dry skin. I use about this much on my hand, and literally I just rub it in like lotion. But what I do is I'll go across my cheekbones, down here, down the bridge of my nose, and especially in the summer my skin gets super dry, so I like to make sure that it's nice and moisturized. Make sure that it rubs in enough, and I kind of rub the rest of my hands. Now don't mind me if I'm looking down a slight bit. I've got a mirror underneath here just to make sure that it's not looking like a 5-year-old in my makeup. It's hard to look in the viewfinder and make sure that it looks good. So if I look down, that's why. So once that moisturizer's all on, the next thing I do is my foundation. Typically, when I'm in the studio, I use Mary Kay foundation. Now, this is not what it's going to look like now. This is old packaging, but I ran out and I'm waiting for my new order to get here. So this is same stuff, just an old packaging. Right now, I think it's pink and black on the bottom, but it's just medium coverage matte foundation from Mary Kay, and I'm Ivory 6, I believe is the color that I use. So this is just your average liquid foundation. The first thing I do is I squirt just a little bit onto my hand right there. I use my hand most of the time as kind of like a petri dish, essentially. I feel, why not? I mean, I don't know. I've just always done this, and this is how I do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Stipple Brush. This is from ULTA, and I just kind of dab it in there on my hand, get it all coated, and then I'm going to start underneath my eyes. You want to make sure that you kind of blend everything out, and you're using a stippling motion, so you're kind of patting. I used to do foundation with a foundation brush, and then I switched to my hands and then back to the foundation brush, and really the foundation brush, I just found it felt like I was like slacking like paint, like I was like putting paint on like a fence or something on my face, and I just, it got too cakey, it got too much, and especially in the summer you're going to be dying of heat stroke. So this kind of gives you the same coverage, but it's not like you're going to be like feeling like you're sweating through your makeup, because that's never fun for anybody. Next thing I do is the bridge of my nose here. Also, want to have kind of a decent light on you, so then that way when the lights shine on you, or if you're doing any type of photos or anything like that, that they're not going to shine a light on you and then you're going to see the line, because that's when you're going to be able to see it. Then I go up my forehead, then I kind of make a T out to the side. And you want to get to your hairline too, especially if it's not exactly the color of your skin, because depending on how you're going to style your hair, you're going to be able to see it. Sure we get that all to the lines, and then I just do down to my chin, because I'm going to use bronzer and stuff to kind of blend in my neck to make sure it fits. I just like to get down underneath just enough. Make sure we get around the nose. And there you go, now all your foundation's on. The next thing you're gonna want to do is set this foundation. And I set my foundation in a lot of layers of my face with HD translucent powder. Right now I've got the e.l.f., but I've also used Mary Kay, like I said. Pretty much anything that I'm using, there's a Mary Kay equivalent, but you can also use the other one if you're on a budget or you like e.l.f. products better. So it comes with a little kind of powder pad, but we're not going to use that. What I like to do is take it and kind of dump it out into the lid a little bit. So just like that. So then that way you kind of have a lot more to work with. I swish it around in here, tap off the excess, especially if you like to do your makeup with your clothes on for the day, which I don't recommend, but if you do, you don't want this getting all over the place if you have extra. Okay, so now it's giving you a little bit more matte feel and look, so then that way when you're working with your highlighting and contouring and things like that, it's not super sticky, because that's never fun. So the next step that I usually do after this is I start with my contouring. So for this I use, I do use Mary Kay, but what I'm finding is lately I really like this. It's the Boo Boo Cover Up. I got this in my Ipsy bag this month and I'm absolutely loving this. I still use Mary Kay for my stuff out in the field, but for some reason I'm just liking this color in the studio. And then I also have a little beauty sponge. It's very comparable to a beauty blender or any of the other sponges you get out there. I got this at ULTA a couple weeks ago because I haven't used a sponge yet, so I really wanted to try the $5 one before I spent the money on the beauty blender to see if I even liked the concept, which I do. So I'm definitely going to be getting a beauty blender. And then I also use an e.l.f. brush to first apply it, which looks like this. This is their, what is it called? Angled foundation brush. So I do use a little bit of a foundation brush, just not for foundation. So I go ahead and I take this and I squeeze it onto my hand, same spot where I put the foundation, like this, just so it's easy to use. And then I just get a little bit, ooh, that's a lot, a little bit on the brush. And then what I do is you're going to draw triangles. So you're going to, the angle brush, this is where it comes in handy. You go down kind of the side of your nose, and I first draw out kind of my shape that I'm going to do before I fill it in. So you've got your line down your nose, and you're going to go up underneath your eye, and now you want to curve up with your eye up to about where your eyebrow is there. And this is going to help lift and kind of highlight your face. So if you're not familiar with contouring and highlighting, highlighting is kind of what you want to show off, and contouring kind of makes things look smaller or kind of hides your flaws. So contouring right now, we're going to do that kind of in the center of your face, and that's going to help with the darker to make it look smaller. So you're going to then dab up from the bottom of this line to the tip of that other line you made on the other side, so you can kind of see how it's a triangle. Then you're just going to take a little bit more of that concealer or foundation. You just want to make sure that it's a lighter color than your foundation that you put on all over, and then you're just going to dab and fill up this triangle. Now this isn't like coloring, you don't have to stay within the lines because you're going to blend it. I just use the triangle lines because it helps me kind of know where I'm going. And you want to go up to about your temple is what I do. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other eye. Okay, so after you do that, then you're going to add a little bit more down the middle of your nose. So I literally just draw a line down to the tip of your nose. And then you're also going to fan it out here on your forehead. Just kind of do that, pull it down my nose, super easy, and then you're going to take whatever's left on your brush and just put a little bit on your chin. Okay, so the next thing that I do now that all of this is on your face is you're going to take this sponge. Now I've used it dry, I've used it wet. I don't really see a difference personally. But you can use it wet. I think it works a little bit better when it's wet, but it could totally be used dry. Now there's a tip here and a flat end, so as you can see it's kind of dirty. I use both ends, but for underneath my eyes for the contouring I use the point, and I'm just going to go in with the little stippling motion that I've been doing this whole time with all the brushes. So I'm going to go in, do both my eyes, and then I'm going to use this end to do my nose and make sure it all blends in as well. so as you can see, there's a light shining on me, so it's kind of hard to see, but it's all kind of blended in now. You're still going to be able to tell the difference, but the goal here is to try to make the lines of the lighter color as seamless as you possibly can with the foundation that you put on. So if you can kind of still see the lines, you want to go in and kind of just sponge that around, so then it's kind of going to just look flawless that way. Now, like I said, you're still going to be able to see it, but you want to get it as kind of smooth as you can. The next thing that I do is I'm going to go back to that translucent powder that I put in the lid, do the same thing, but you're only going to set the areas where you just put that concealer. So I swirl it around, tap it off, and then I go underneath my eyes, right where I put that stuff, and you're just kind of setting that, so then that way it's not going to smear as much on you, and it'll kind of stay in place. And I do that down my nose and on my chin. Okay, now we're going to switch gears from the highlighting to the contouring part. Now, I do a lot more contouring than a lot of people probably do. The only reason is because I just like my face to look thinner. I think my cheeks are a little full, and also too, I like my jawbone to look a little bit more defined. So that's what I'm doing today. Now, this you can tweak to your own face and your own face shape, but this is kind of just the basic thing that I always do, and I think it would look good on anybody, but again, just try it for yourself. And this is something that you obviously don't want to wear every day because it is studio makeup, but all the principles are pretty much the same. And if you have any questions for your own face, leave me questions below and I can try to answer that the best that I can. So what I do use is I use Mary Kay bronzer. This is Bronze Diva, and they have a new like bronzing, just a bronzing powder. I tend to like the bronzing powder a little bit better for every day, but for the studio I do use Bronze Diva because the lights do wash everyone out. So if you're doing this for a photo shoot or for any on-camera thing, you want to make sure to use a darker bronzer. Not too dark that when you blend it into your neck you're going to look like you're not the same color anymore, but enough that it's going to make you kind of look like you have color in your face. So when I put on my bronzer in the first place, I use a Mary Kay brush. This is just their cheek brush out of their brush thing, brush set. You can see how this is kind of angled here. And then I also use an e.l.f. brush. This is a small tapered brush, which it's got a little point, and I do that to get the highlights within my cheekbones. So the first thing we're going to do, I just have my makeup bag like sitting down here and I'm like going through things. I'm sorry if it seems that I'm crazy unorganized, but this is how I do my makeup every day. I'm all over the place. That's just kind of how it is. So first, for the Mary Kay Bronze Diva Mineral Powder, we're going to take this brush, just get some on there. I like to tap that off too. And then what I start doing is I first start up here on top of my eyebrow and I put color there. That's the first place I always put color. Then I start working my way down my face here. And I'm just going to kind of outline my face with this bronzer. That's what I'm doing at first. And then I'm going to go down to my cheek, put some bronzer there, follow it around, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So start up here, down the side, down your chin. Again, you want to keep your hair out of your face. If you can pin it back, that's fine. I just look extra scary with no makeup and my hair pinned back, so I just wanted to save you guys that. I tried to keep some hair down so it wasn't as scary. But then you kind of want to just get a little bit up here, but you don't want to cover your whole center of your forehead only because we just highlighted that, so there's no point in highlighting that if you're going to cover it with bronzer. So I just kind of try to make a little, follow your hairline. So now you've got kind of a bronze circle around your face. Which I didn't cake it on too much, so it should be, you should be able to kind of see it. So then the next thing I do is you're going to find your cheekbones. Now, there's 25 million ways that people tell you how to find your cheekbones. I mean, there's like the roll the thing down, everything. I stick with the silly fish face only because it works for me and it's super easy. So all I do is, you're going to suck in your cheeks, kind of like you're making a fish face like you're 5 years old, and that's where I put my contour for my cheeks. So, you do the fish face, and then I just put some color in there, just like this. Now you can see the line there. how it goes into my cheeks. Now don't worry if it's too defined, you're gonna blend it in a minute. So, but you just wanna make sure you get enough color on there that when you buff it and blend it in, you're not gonna lose everything. So do it again on the other side. Now before you kind of put everything together, you wanna kind of make sure that the lines from your cheek contour that you just did fit with the lines that you did on outside of your face. So what I do is I'll make the fish face again, and then I kind of blend it up to my temple, into my cheek, and then down to my jawline. So then that way that line seems almost like a number 3 there instead of just 3 different lines. And then the last thing you're going to do with your contouring is either side of your nose. We did the center of our nose, and then the darker color on the outside is going to make your nose appear smaller. So if you have a small nose, I wouldn't recommend highlighting or contouring, I mean, your nose, because it's going to make it appear smaller than it is. So if you're fine with your nose, have at it. If you want your nose to appear more kind of streamlined, then this is for you. I just start here, and I go down, and then here, if you can kind of see, I go down to the tip of my nose. And I do the same thing on the other side, down to the tip. So pretty much the thing that I've learned really from kind of trying things out, and my dad's mowing outside, I apologize. What I've learned from all the videos that I've watched and all the experiences that I've had with highlighting and contouring is that you just want to make sure that every line has an end and a beginning. So you want to make sure that everything here kind of goes there. These lines need to come up and kind of almost touch your eyebrows. And then that's a kind of a finishing line, and then your whole circle of your face. So then that way you don't have random lines, because the whole point of this is to make it look natural on your face, even though you're putting a ton of makeup on. At the end you want it to look decently natural, so then you don't look like you have like makeup caked on your face. So now to kind of get this all blended together, we're gonna go back to our powder brush that we're using from e.l.f. for the translucent powder. And first I set it and then I mix it, only because I feel like if I mix it before I set it, then all of the bronzer goes over to where I highlighted, and then that just kind of screws everything. So again, get it on there, tap it off, do it here, down your chin. And you can kind of see that distinct line there now that I turn my face. Get this, get the side of your nose. Okay. Now for the blending aspect. I try not to rub it as hard as you would think to blend, only because if you rub it a lot, then A, the bronzer is going to come off on the brush, and then wherever else you put it, you're going to have more bronzer than the other place. So you want to just lightly kind of tap. You can kind of swoosh it too, but you don't want to like pull it a lot either, because it'll kind of throw the bronzer onto your nose, if that makes sense. It happens also with eyeshadow, and then you get that nasty like dark on the bridge of your nose, and we don't want that. So we want to kind of pat. See, you can pull kind of, but you want to lightly pull it up, down, but you don't want to, because that's just obnoxious. Now everything's blended, I lied before. So the next thing is blush. Now, I like to use a little bit kind of heavier or more colorful blush, only because again the lights do drown you out. I typically use like a really light blush for every day, but for when I'm on camera I use a Mary Kay Mineral blush, which is called Citrus Bloom. So I take my Mary Kay powder brush, this is just a round powder brush, circle it around here. I always tap the excess off. I smile, I get that kind of apple of my cheek there on both sides. And then once you have the color on, I try not to add a lot of extra color. I try to just blend what I have, because there is a fine line between wanting to have color in your cheeks and looking like a clown. I hate to break to you, we've all seen those girls that have just cake and cake and cake, and then you look like a clown, and we just don't want that. So I blow out my little brush here, and then we just kind of circle, blend it in. Again, the goal is to make it look natural. Okay, so now it looks like I have a little bit of color in my cheeks. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see with my lighting. You'll see it in a minute. If for some reason you think it's too light, you can go back in, add a little bit more. And the goal is to fit this in between the highlight underneath your eye and the contour of your cheek. Because you don't want to cover it up too much, because then if you cover it up too much, then again, it's no point in doing that in the first place. So now I have a little bit more color on my cheeks. So now I like to do it one more time. This step really isn't extremely necessary, but I just like to set all my makeup only because stuff happens to me. I mean, I'm running around at work, maybe I'm running to an event beforehand and I get gross, or you never know. So the more you set things, the more it's going to stay. And also too, if you're going somewhere after, then your makeup's going to last into the night. And who doesn't love not having to reapply it? So I just go again over with that translucent powder. And also that powder is also going to make it so your skin doesn't look oily or wet underneath the lights as well, because that, you don't want your skin looking greasy or anything like that. Okay, so now that I've done everything kind of on my face, the next thing I do is my eyes. So this is going to come as a shock to you guys, but I use Mary Kay eyeliner. It's just their normal eyeliner. Oh, you can kind of see. You can kind of see I have color there. I apologize. I'm working on getting a new camera. I was kind of doing the whole YouTube thing, trying to figure out if I want to do it, and now it's kind of started to take off. So I am working on getting a new camera. I apologize. So first what I do is I'm going to line the inside of both of my eyes. And so I do underneath my eye, and I make the outer half, so like where I'm lining right now, darker than the inner half. So then that way when you do the more dramatic eyeliner on the top, it draws the attention to the outside of your eye. So I still line the whole thing, but I only do one layer on the inside, and as you can kind of tell, the outside's a little bit darker. So I do the same thing on the other side. More on the outside half, less on the inside half. More on the outside half, less on the inside half. Okay, so now that you've got that on your eyes, lately what I have been obsessed with for my eye makeup is a palette that I got in my first Pop Sugar box ever, which would have been April. It's the Too Faced Naturalized palette. Now this thing is fantastic. I had heard about it, but like I mentioned countless times, I use a lot of Mary Kay products, so I don't really branch out a whole lot. And when I do, I'm not trying to spend $35 on a palette. But this came in my box. It's got all these nice, pretty colors in there. Oh, sorry, as it shuts on me. And what I use is the Classic. So that's going to be this line here in the center. So the first thing that I do is I use, if I can find it here in my brush collection, here we go, a C brush by e.l.f. I always like to blow off the extra stuff. Just you can also use it like if you have like a paper towel, you can just wipe it on there, but I tend to just blow it off. Now you're going to use this first color here, which is Silky Teddy. Also you can do this with any other color that you want. If you don't want to do a natural, you just need a light, a medium, and a dark color. You can use this technique with any, but I'm going to use the natural here. So the first thing is for your light color, you're going to kind of dab it on here, and instead of just swiping it across our eye, we're going to pat it on. Now what this does is it's going to get you a higher concentration of color on your eye, and also it's not going to have that light color be shot all over your face like how I was talking about before. So then we're going to do that on this side too. And again, if you're not using the same palette that I am, which is totally fine, just use the lighter color that you have. Say if you have a trio or a quad, or you're mixing your own makeup, it's just your lighter color. Okay, so leave your C brush close because you're going to need it again. So the next two brushes you're going to need are a blending brush, which it's just like a flat little, looks like that, flat little blender brush. And then also, I'm not sure what e.l.f. calls this. They call this a blending brush too, but it's a little bit longer. This is how I do my crease. So you can use a crease brush for this as well. And this is a trick that I learned a while ago. I watched a video and I saw someone do it and I was like, oh, I had no idea that I could do that and make it look that good. So hopefully you guys haven't seen this trick and I can pass it along to you. You probably have though, because I'm usually late to the game with all these kind of things. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your first brush. It really doesn't matter what kind of brush it is. You just want to use it as kind of a guide. So I'm going to use the middle color here, which is called Push Up. And get some on the brush. Just twirl it, and then you're going to tap that off as well. Kind of tap it on the edge. Now this guy, you're going to use it from the corner of your eye to where your eyebrow is, right there. So you're not gonna go on this side of it. So you're gonna start there and just kind of circle your way into your crease. And you wanna try not to swipe it like a windshield wiper because it's gonna shoot all that to the bridge of your nose, and then you're gonna have a dark bridge of your nose. Then I pull this down a little bit as well. You've got this in your crease. And also too, these eyes are a lot more dramatic than what I would do on a regular basis, but this is studio makeup. So you're gonna get that cashmere bunny color again, tap off your extra, do the same thing over here. So from the edge of your eyebrow to the corner of your eye, circle this in. I would say go about 3/4 of the way into your eye. Then you're gonna pull it down here. Sorry, I've got arms and everything everywhere. This is how ridiculous I look when I do my makeup at work. I apologize. Then blow off your extra, and then you're just gonna kind of blend it a little bit more just so there isn't stuff flying everywhere. Then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this next dark color here in the middle, which is called Erotica. Same thing, but you're gonna want probably about 1/4 of the amount that you just did for your crease. So I put this back up here just as a guide, and I literally just make a V. I follow the line that's already there, and I make a V there with the darker color. Now you're going to blend that in a minute, but you just want to make a V. If you can kind of see it, make a V for the edge of your eye. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to that C brush, which I dropped on the ground, I apologize. Get a little bit more of that first color, and you're gonna essentially make a sandwich to what you just did. Now I know this hasn't been blended, I know it looks crazy, but you're gonna blend it in a second. So this you're just gonna take up here and go up over that color you just did. You're gonna do the same thing on this side, go up and around. And this is essentially working as a highlighter for your eye. So now that you have all that on your eye, let me put all these brushes back that I'm trying to balance here. Now this is where that blending brush comes in. So literally you're just gonna work it into your eye, and you're gonna wanna try to pull everything inward on either eye, so then that way it doesn't go past that line that you created with your kind of makeshift stencil. So then that way it makes your eyes not look as wide, and it just helps the look better, I guess. You can tell I'm trying to sound like a makeup artist. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm just telling you what I usually do. So let me just blend it for you. Okay, so now that it looks a little bit blended, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to add eyeliner. Now you can do a bunch of different things, whichever is comfortable for you. I know that I've talked to a lot of people, and the fact of putting on gel or the liquid eyeliner freaks them out, which is fine. It's kind of like people that can and can't wear contacts. Sometimes people freak out when they put on mascara. It just happens. But what I use, if I can find it here, maybe not. Oh. I use the Mary Kay liquid eyeliner. Now it comes with a little brush that helps you. Oh, there's my Mary Kay brush I was looking for earlier. It comes with a brush that is very small. It's a little red brush. And now for me, like, the brush is fine, but for me it's really hard to line my eyes that way. So what I do is I go and buy an e.l.f. brush that looks like this. It's got the angled tip there, so then that way it makes it easier. So what I do is I just kind of get some out as I get it on my finger. Make sure each side is coated. After each side is coated, I pull my eye out. Let's see if I can do this with the viewfinder. I do a simple line first. Then I come up a little bit higher and pull it down. Now after you've pulled it higher, you want to kind of fill in that line there. So you're kind of coloring, and you want to make the points touch each other. Now you may have to get a little bit more, only because you're drawing with this gel eyeliner over your eyeshadow, and it tends to dry out kind of the gelness of it. So again, you want to go back in, color in those lines that you just made. Make it a little pointy. And there you go. Now this eye is done. As you can tell, it's way more dramatic than this eye. And the reason that I do that is it makes your eyes look better on camera. It makes them look a little bit wider open. And then once you add that mascara, it's going to make your eyes look a little bit more wide open. Now this is dirty. I don't know if I'm just a 5-year-old and can't keep it clean, but it tends to happen. The last thing that I do, well, second to last thing I guess, is put on mascara. Now I use the Mary Kay Ultimate Mascara, which looks like this. And I curl my lashes after I put the mascara on. I know some people, well, most people do it before, but I feel like, especially in studio, they hold a lot longer if there's something on there to make them pliable, and I don't wear false lashes because they just literally, I can't keep my eyes open. They are something that I only use on special occasions because they drive me nuts. So I get my mascara. I usually cake it on my top lashes so that they look nice and full. And then I do a little bit on the outside of my eye. I go to the next one, cake it on the top. I also cake it on too because as you're gonna curl it, a little bit of it is obviously gonna come off as it touches that eyelash curler, but I do this normally. Then it helps them stay nice and curled. So then after that, I usually, in studio, depending on what color I'm wearing, that's kind of what lip stuff I use. But lately I've been loving this lipstick. It is called Butter by NYX. And I just really like that the color isn't too much, but it's enough that it looks good on camera. So I just add that to my lips. And it almost feels kind of like a lip gloss mixed in with a lipstick. That's why I really like it, because Lord knows I need a lot of moisture on my lips because they get super dry, especially in the summer. So I'm constantly doing that. Thank you for sticking with me through this whole video. I know it was long, but I have a lot of steps so that I can look decent on camera. So if you have any questions about the products that I use or any of the techniques, feel free to comment down below. Also give me a thumbs up if you like this beauty tutorial. This is the first one that I've done, so hopefully if you like it, give me a thumbs up so that I know to do more. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you next time.